Hey guys, once again, this is a terrible angle and terrible lighting, and I'm recording this on my phone, so this might be a terrible quality video, but I hope that won't. Just look away if you need to. So I'm going to be talking about my MRI. It was done January 16th, so about a week or two ago. It took a while for me to get back. It was a very busy day, the day that I got my MRI, and then it was my birthday was right after, and it was just a crazy week, so I kind of just got back to it and was like, okay, today I got a day off and I'm going to take a breather and discuss it to my phone, and hopefully it'll make it on YouTube so I don't look insane. So leading up to the MRI, I was pretty nervous, but I kind of got over the nervousness by the time the day actually came. So I had gotten an email about a week before that said try to be there an hour earlier for paperwork. So we had to be there at 1 o'clock because our appointment was scheduled for 2 o'clock, but they wanted us to be there an hour early. Do the math. And so we arrived about 1 o'clock, maybe 5 minutes after. We were pretty on time for never being in the imaging department of the hospital, of the pediatric, whatever, that part of the hospital before. So we got down there, we got all signed in, we did all the paperwork, and then by the time we went down, we went to sit in the waiting room, and it was 1:15, 1:20 at the latest. And I was like, so is this it? Because was that all the paperwork we had to be there for? Yeah, it did take an hour. So that was kind of strange. But then, thankfully, we did not have to sit there for 40 minutes. Thankfully, someone came out and called my name and pronounced it correctly, I might add. Always impressed with that. And so we went back there, we went into a room, and I sat down, my mom sat down, and I don't really know what, maybe a tech, I'm not really sure what she did. She just asked us the questions, got us, probably a tech, I have no idea. But she started asking me all these questions, which maybe was part of the paperwork. I'm now kind of realizing could be part of the paperwork that we had to be there an hour early for. So she asked us a ton of questions, do I have claustrophobia, and am I okay with needles, because I had to have an IV put in for this specific MRI. And so luckily I'm all fine with that. I'm pretty brave on that side, on that end of things. Sorry, I just noticed Bullwinkle in the corner. He's my boyfriend right now, you guys. Okay. I'll get into that. I'll get into my mental health later. No, that's not. I'm fine. Okay. Sorry, got a little off track there. This is why I need a notebook, because I get off track. And that notebook is still not helping. Okay. Sorry. So, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I'm terrible. I'm gonna pause this and I'm gonna figure out, I'm gonna become sane while I pause this. Okay, I can't remember what I was talking about, but hopefully if you have questions about the sentence that I did not finish because I noticed a stuffed animal behind me, just ask, because I don't remember what I was talking about. But the thing I didn't know coming into this was she told me that it was an hour and a half MRI. It could go up to an hour and a half. It wasn't positive that it would be that long, but a heart MRI is a lot longer. So that was new information. And also she told me that this wasn't one of the MRIs that I could just relax during or like fall asleep during, because I needed to be fully awake, because there was going to be breathing instructions coming in. Like, they gave me headphones and there'd be breathing instructions, and so I had to follow those instructions, because if I'm breathing while they're taking the picture, it makes it blurry, as I understood. Could be wrong. Feel free to correct me, people who know more about this than me. But yeah. So that was new information, more new information. And the other thing was, my mother, she's beautiful and I love her. She said, am I allowed to go in with her? Which I wanted her to go in with me. So I was glad that she said that. But then they were like, oh, usually people don't go in for heart MRIs because they take so long, and you're just sitting there, and we can't let you bring anything in because of possible metal, whatever. So my mom said, no, I'm sure I want to go in. So they brought back the special beautiful, they are not flattering outfits, but they brought back the outfits, and so we changed into that. We couldn't have any metal, except for my mom's wedding ring was fine, and a couple other things, but then a nurse came in and was gonna put the IV in, and this is where it gets exciting. So they needed to put an IV in because for one of the pictures they needed contrast, which would come through the IV, and I'm not really sure what the contrast does. It might make for a clearer picture or something, I'm not really sure, or just a different kind of picture. So I can't answer any questions about the contrast besides how it felt. But they tried 3 times. Well, they tried 2 times, and then they got it in the 3rd time. I'm not sure what the correct way to say it would be. But they tried in... Here. I mean, you won't be able to see, the scar. But they tried... There's, a vein here. I can kind of feel it. There's a vein here, and they tried there, and they couldn't get it in. And then she tried over here on my left side, this same or, a similar vein in the same... around the same place. And she still couldn't get it in. And after the second one, I was feeling pretty dizzy, because I don't know if I'd lost a lot of blood or it was just someone playing around in my body just made me disoriented. But I started, I don't know, if when you stand up too fast, or just a head rush where you kind of get stars in your eyes, you can't really see. That was what happened, but I knew I hadn't done anything, and I was oh, it must just be because I'm losing blood, or not, someone's messing around with my body. But so then afterwards, she gave me a cold pack, which helped a lot with the dizziness, and then she said, okay, I'm gonna go get a different nurse who's really good at getting IVs in. So that was I was thankful. I was good, don't mess up this time. But I did like my nurse. I forgot to mention this because she reminded me of someone that goes to our church. I didn't ask her permission to say her name, but that was very helpful with the whole experience. And also she was very nice, probably because of pediatric, which helped. So if you're ever gonna get an MRI, go to a pediatric office. Good. Crush that. But then the other nurse came in, and she immediately found a really good vein, which I was really proud of the vein. It was very big. I'm very proud of it. And she got it in, I don't know if you can, oh yeah, you can see it, at least on this side of the camera. We'll see what YouTube does to it. But that's where they got the IV, and the scab is still there, I assume because it was bleeding a lot. Not really sure. It was deeper than the other ones, because the other ones are gone by now. Just like a little prick. Sorry, I'm getting uncomfortable. But anyways, so she finally got that in, and then I went to the MRI room. So that's definitely not the official name. But I went into the room, and the tech got me all set up and like hooked up a bunch of things. I wasn't really paying attention. So she hooked me up to a bunch of stuff. Sorry, I'm adjusting. Still uncomfortable. She hooked me up to a bunch of stuff, and in I went. And I forgot to mention before, she said, "Is there any music that you want to listen to while you're in there, because otherwise it gets really boring?" And I had expected this question to be asked, because like my mom has had an MRI, and like I have a friend who's had an MRI, so I kind of had like an idea of it, but also their MRIs were not for their heart, so it was kind of a different experience. But then, the lighting just changed. Sorry about that. When she said that, she was like, "So we just have Pandora, like what kind of music?" And with Pandora, it takes you search for a specific song, and then it just like goes off from there. I assume everyone knows how Pandora works, but anyways, that's when I was just like, didn't really know what to go with, but I just told her Jonas Brothers, because those are my favorite. That's my favorite band. As you can see, they're on the wall behind me. You couldn't see, the lighting changed. Isn't lighting wonderful? So she started playing the Jonas Brothers right as I went in, and the song that she played is called "Comeback." It's a great song. I recommend that you listen to it, because right at the beginning it has this really pretty piano piece that always makes me like a little misty-eyed. It's like a very touching song when you listen to the words. And then I was like, as I was going in, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna start crying. Like, with so many things like going through my head right then, and then this song that I was just like so familiar with and has made me cry before, I was like, I'm just gonna start crying and they're gonna think I'm like hurt or something. And I was just like, oh no, please don't cry. Thankfully, I was able to keep the tears in and just enjoy the familiarity of the song. And when I got in there, I was in there for about an hour. I calculated like 45 minutes to an hour after like I got my phone back and was able to see what time it was. I was like trying to estimate. So it wasn't an hour and a half, thankfully. The breathing instructions came through the headphones, like I said. They gave me earbuds because it's very loud in there, and then they put headphones over, and I don't know if those were noise canceling too. I assume they were, but I didn't really ask. But the instructions were given by a robotic voice, and the one that I got most commonly, the one that I can like still hear in my mind, is breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and hold your breath. And then you hear the little like camera, I was gonna say shutter, I'm not sure it's really what that was, but you would hear it like go. I counted 16 times once, like when I was paying attention. Other times I just like listened to the music. And then it would say, please continue breathing, and then I would be like I actually did do that once, but it didn't happen that often, thankfully. And also, as soon as I got in there, I saw on the top of the MRI, like, tube type thing, it looks like drywall. I'm not sure that it was, because when I said that to my mom, she was like, I thought it was a plastic tube. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not sure. So I obviously couldn't reach up and feel it, because you're not allowed to move at all. I didn't mention that. But yeah, you're not allowed to move at all, so thankfully it didn't take an hour and a half. There was this little mark on the ceiling then I was like, I'm just gonna stare at this. It was like directly above my head, directly like in my eye line. And I was like, this is my new friend, and I'm naming him Alberto. So there was like this little orange mark on the ceiling I stared at the whole time. And I'd like occasionally look back because I like tried to see with like my peripheral vision if I could see that outside, because I was like, how far am I like to this tube? Like, so I was trying to see. I think I could see the end of it, but I wasn't really sure because I wasn't allowed to move. I'm trying to think of like if there's any more interesting stories. I basically just laid there for an hour, so not really. There was, when the contrast went in, I don't think I even told you any stories about this guy, but I assume he was like the MRI assistant. I'm making up new positions, I'm sure. But he wasn't the MRI tech, because that was the girl that like got me all hooked up. I'm not sure what he did, but he was there. And he introduced himself. I don't remember his name. When I was getting my first IV in, so I was not paying attention. I was just like, okay, there's a needle going into my arm right now. But I feel like his name was Steve, but I feel like that's such a cliche name that probably was not it. Sorry to all of my viewers who are named Steve. But I was gonna say something else. Oh, he came on and said, okay, Jemima, we're gonna put the contrast in now. It's gonna feel like something cool is going up your arm, and then we're gonna have you like do some more breaths in and out. Or no, actually, before that he had warned me that there was gonna be quick breathing in and out, but then he said there wasn't gonna be any breathing. So I guess I didn't do any breathing. Sorry, I just lied to you. So it did feel like a cool was going up my arm, but the thing that he didn't warn me about, and I found out later was the contrast, was I felt like I wet my pants. And I'm sorry to bring this up, but I just had to. I felt like I wet my pants, and it was like the weirdest thing. And then later, like that Sunday, I was talking to my sister about my MRI, and she's a nurse, and she was talking about the contrast, and she was like, oh yeah, whenever I put that in, I tell people you're gonna feel like you wet your pants. And I was just like, oh, that's what that was. I'd like forgotten about it because I hadn't. So anyways, ending on that TMI, sorry. So hopefully that was interesting. I'm sorry I babbled on for 20 minutes. And I'm also sorry I don't know how to edit videos. If you know how to edit videos, contact me. I can't pay you, but I will make you work. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later. Hopefully that was informative. Feel free to ask questions. I'll try to answer them. But I also just might make up stuff like I did for 18 minutes. Bye.